Heavenly Father, thank you for just letting us come here and represent the town tonight. And I hope that you look over us as we proceed with the town's business. Help us with having the wisdom, knowledge. Let us listen and make the best choices and do your will tonight. In your Son's holy name, pray. Amen.
A pledge. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we'll call this meeting to order. We'll have public comments. There's one person that signed up for the public comments section. And would anyone else like to speak? And also, tonight we have a item on the agenda. I know some folks are here to talk about it or would like to hear it at least. If you'd like to do your comments during the public comment section and speak to us during that section, that's the most appropriate time to do that. So if you'd like to speak on the Vickery issue, do so now. And the first person who signed up, you'll also get your turn after Joyce. How do you spell your say your last name? You signed up, and I appreciate your coming in. Please repeat your name and address for the record.
Joyce Rupert, 3026 Freesia Place, Stallings. And I want to do a big thank you to the town of Stallings. There was a major project done at my house. It took about 2 years because we had to have a pandemic. The first person I would like to thank is Steve. Without him, it wouldn't have been done. He was at my house within 3 days in a pandemic to see what I was whining about. Then the next person I would like to thank is Bo. What a great engineer. I don't know if he's still with you. Wonderful engineer. Made contact, both. I just can't say thank you enough. The next one is Dave Privet, who did the job. Good man, good company. They were there when they said they were going to be there. Communication was wonderful. The man came around to all the neighbors, gave a card. If you had any questions, what was going to go on. It was just remarkable. His men, Jeff, Adam, and Travis, were clean, never left a piece of garbage on our property. And of course, Mother Nature took over. The 2-week job went into 6 weeks. During that time, Dave Privet would call me or text me and say, sorry, we can't move the equipment, the mud. They did exactly what they said they would do on my property. They replaced what they were supposed to do on my property. And finally, Mother Nature said, okay, finish the job. And they got to finish it, I guess, 2 weeks ago today. And it really is wonderful. However, we haven't had any rain to see what's going on. Only during the project. We didn't get to see what happened last week. I was at 11 o'clock at night, so I don't have no idea. I didn't see any water up in my yard. They put the storm pipes in. At this time, we're waiting for rain. But so far, I just want to say thank you. The town came through.
You didn't have any last night?
Huh?
You didn't have any last night?
Last night?
Mm-hmm.
Any rain?
Not enough to fill that drain.
It poured down at my house.
I don't think it really did pour last night. I came from Ray Road and it poured. But when we got down here, it was like a drizzle. But I just, it took 2.5 years. But you know what? You came through, and that's the most important thing. And now to Mr. Alex. Thank you for making sure the lights got on in the park. That was wonderful. I think that you came through on that too within days after I was here at the last meeting. And that's what it means to cooperate with the neighbors and the town council. Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing that to our, we thank you for thanking us because we don't get that very often, do we?
And I consider Joyce to be kind of an extended council member.
All right. Are there any other folks who'd like to speak this evening that weren't signed up? There are 2 public hearings tonight, and I got John Violet's, sorry if I mispronounced that. He's going to speak on the public hearing for item 4. Other than that, are there any other folks who want to speak this evening? Please, one at a time, come to the podium. You got.
I'm Roxanne Coates, and I
live at 2019 Donovan Drive, and we're the original owners of the home. So, we've always known about the Greenway, did not scare us away from, purchasing our property. And, my husband and I were both in agreement when shrubbery was offered or a landscaping package was offered, and that was fine until the aerial apartments appeared. Just that changed our feelings because that's that many more people that will be traveling back and forth because there's a lot to offer at the Frisbee Park and the other thing, and then everybody that might come by. And so we're really low, and we're just, our main concern is the loss of privacy in our backyard, and also trespassing because it's a great place to go back up to Donovan if you wanted to. And that's what I would like to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello.
My name's Abby Gold, and I'm at 2015 Donovan, so I'm Roxanne's neighbor. I hope very soon I can stand up here like the First Lady and thank the town for putting a fence up so that we can have our privacy protected in our backyard. We are at that area that you've identified as the pinch point, so it is really close. Alex was nice enough to take his time and come out and sit at my dining room table. And I think he saw that there is, once the Greenway goes in, which I'm not against at all, I just want the privacy so I can sit and have my dinner and they don't have to see me having my dinner and I don't have to see them walking on the Greenway. We also put in a pool, so that's a huge, liability issue for us. So I just hope that you consider how you would feel if this was going in your backyard, because I moved here and are redoing some things, and my husband's already talking about moving, and I don't want to lose any of my neighbors, and I love my home. I just would like the privacy. So thank you for listening tonight.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Tim Russell, and I live at 2009 Donovan Drive, next to Abby and adjacent from Roxanne. I am at the pinch point also. Between Abby and I, there's a swell that takes water down into that Greenway area, which is a concern. We want to make sure that that thing flows correctly and it goes over into the stream there, that we don't flood all our backyards with water. I think it's good. Also like to thank Alex. He came out and he also sat with us and we showed him the area, so he had a good picture of what was going on there. But my main concern is safety. Since my property is going to be 20 feet, my understanding, from the Greenway. In the summer, there is a little bit of a buffer of trees, but in the wintertime, it's pretty much open. So, we're gonna have people from all walks of life going up and down there, and they have a tendency to step off the trail a bit. And I'm concerned for the safety of myself, my family, and our neighbors and the neighborhood too. But I thank you for consideration of us to help that situation. Okay,
Thank you. Any other folks would like to speak this evening? All right, next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Everybody had their chance to review it?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. Just a second. I did want to, just not to pull one for a separate vote, but wanted to thank Alex and Bo, as Joyce mentioned, is an excellent engineer, solving a very large stormwater project. In my district, I'm on the other end of town, District 6, Twin Pines project. Finally, after a couple years of work, getting some solution there. So thanks, Alex. I'll leave it in the packet as we approve it, but wanted to pull that out. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, reports. Start with the mayor. Mayor Pro Tem, I mean. Yeah, I know, that's me
That's you.
tonight. I just want to, I just got back from School of Government. The Advanced Leadership Corps training was 6 days of, I didn't know what to expect when I went, but it was pretty darned intensive, long days of collaboration with fellow elected officials around the state. And the School of Government staff given us a really good, thorough leadership training on how to do all kinds of stuff. And I'll be happy to talk to you later about the details, but I enjoyed the heck out of it, much more than I thought I would. Thought, what am I gonna get out of this? But boy, did I get a lot out of it. So if you have the opportunity to consider it in your future, please take advantage of it and talk to me. That's it. Any other council?
I would like to say that there was no WUMA meeting for July, but the WUMA meeting will be here for August, and that will be the last Thursday of August. So I'll need to get with you on that for hosting.
What does WUMA stand for again?
Western Union,
Paulson Alliance.
something Municipal Alliance. No problem.
Are you gonna be in attendance at that August meeting?
I will, because I thought at first it was going to be the the Thursday before, and I would have missed it because I was, that would have been move-in time period for NC State, but it's the week after, so I should be good.
Excellent. Brad? Nothing? Any committee reports? Town manager report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Scholl, and good evening, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. I've just got a couple quick items. First, the National Night Out. The police held that last week. Chief Franks, thank you to you and your team for the hard work on that. I've got a lot of positive feedback on that, and both from the public and from my 4-year-old. Mr. Price, thank you for your public works supporting that, and Ms. McSwain isn't here because she's on her honeymoon, but if Eunice watches this, thank you, Eunice. The second item, we've started our work with the Downtown Finance Initiative, which is a group under the school government that helps local governments with large-scale economic development projects. The city of Kannapolis, if you've been up there, DFI played an instrumental role in getting their downtown to where it is today. And the town of Stallings has set a goal of creating a downtown, and we're currently working with DFI to enact what our vision of it is. We've gotten started working with them. At this point, it's mostly organizational housekeeping items, but I do want to thank Councilmember Ayers as well as Councilmember Richardson for volunteering to be our downtown liaisons, and that's going to be a time commitment. So thank you, gentlemen, for that. And that would conclude my report. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Scholl.
Any other town departments? Okay. All right. Now for the agenda approval, any additions, deletions, movements?
Can we move item 11 to 4C?
Okay, make note. Any other changes, additions, deletions? That's redundant.
I'll move to approve the agenda with the following modification. We're going to move item 11, Greenway Pinch Point fencing, up to item 4C.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right. Now we move on to item 4, which is the RZ 22.07.01, 2125 Stallings Road, general zoning from MU2 to SFR1. I'll open the public hearing.
Hey, council. Sorry,
You're not nervous, are you?
Max is just
Actually,
tired.
I'm not nervous, but we do have quite a large audience today, which is out of the norm. So, hello, audience. I'm Max Sean. I'm the planning director at Hello Council. All right. So I'm here, and I'll have a nice little break after this one because I just moved item up. Item up. All right. So this is RZ 220701. It's at 2125 Stallings Road. The zoning request is for a general rezoning from mixed use to MU2 to single family SFR1. So the location is right next to the Stone Creek townhomes that are under construction on Stallings Road across on Independence. David Dry's the owners, the Dry's, and the current zoning is MU2. The current use is a single family residential home, and the property size is 22.885 acres. So this is the current street view from Google, but it looks pretty similar. There's just a single family home on the property. This is a zoning map, as you can see in outlined in red. I know it's a little thin, but it's right in the middle. It's zone MU2. It's adjacent to other MU1 zoning, and across the street is a conditional zoning for Sterling Manor that's already built. It's a single-family residential neighborhood. The land use plan calls for this area as walkable activity center, which is a sit-down restaurant, retail, office use for future land use. I mean, SFR1 is inconsistent with this land use. Small area plan for this area. The area is shown on the Monroe Expressway small area plan. And it shows a multifamily residential use on this for this area. And SFR1 is also inconsistent with the small area plan. But the history on the property is that in 2018, we rezoned this property to mixed use 2 because we identified this area for the small area plan. And the tax property value was reassessed by Union County, and it was dramatically increased. I'll let the applicant talk if he would like to about that. But he's seeking to turn it back to the original zoning. I believe it was R20 before the rezoning, and SFR1 is the same zoning as R20. The planning board heard this item last month, and they recommended approval. So, you have any questions before me or the applicant before we discuss the statement of consistency?
Just one question, and keep me honest, because this may be one of those that I'm not supposed to be able to ask. But I mean, with the rezoning, with the reassessment that happened in Union County, everybody went up in price. Is the thought pattern then that the reassessment under MU2 would be incredibly higher than what the reassessment would be under SFR1?
That's what happened to the applicant. So when a mixed use 2 is it's one of our most, well, I would say least restrictive zoning. So many uses are included in that. So that's why the tax assessment was higher for that property.
Okay,
In SFR1, you can only build single-family homes.
okay. So, okay. I didn't know if there was like, just, everything got assessed, so even single-family homes went up quite a bit based off the Union County. But there is definitely a difference between MU2. Okay.
You have any questions for the applicant or?
No question, just a comment. So I'll support this. I think it's important to do. We've had this come before us before with a couple parcels near another part of town, I can't remember.
Stevens Mill?
Stevens Mill. I think it makes sense. I'll just point out that when the land sells in the future, not presuming that it will anytime soon, well, if it develops as a high density or more appropriate for a hospital-driven development area, we'd likely see another rezoning back to an MU2. That would be what we'd prefer, to allow the new landowner to have a lot more flexibility on development. I assume that's what we're saying. So this is a temporary, as long as this property owner owns the property, it can stay single-family. And a new property owner may likely want to rezone it. That's the path forward.
Yes, that is, it would have to go before council again for a rezoning if they wanted to do anything other than single-family homes. SFR one only allows 1 unit per acre, so they would likely only be able to build 20 homes at maximum on this property. I don't know how profitable that would be compared to MU2.
I'll make a motion if you're ready.
Any other comments? Well, wait a minute. Shall I close the public hearing? Close the public hearing. Nobody's going to speak.
I'm sorry?
Did the applicant sign up?
I don't know if that.
Well, actually, let me back up. For item 4, and I think this might be a mistake because their address is on Castle Bridge, but John Violet, did you want to speak on, you signed up for item 4, which is this one. Did you want to be the Castle Bridge?
Yeah, no, sorry.
All right. All right, we'll do that. So nobody else has signed up to speak? Anybody need to speak on this issue tonight? The applicant want to speak? Go ahead then.
My name's Eric. I'm an attorney, but I'm not really here to ask you to look at the law, but rather consider the facts of this case and see if you can't find it within reason to do what the planning board or the Board of Adjustment has recommended. As you've heard and seen, the property taxes went up from around $2,000 to $20,000. And the land itself really is not at this point able to be developed beyond what it is right now, and that is a 20-acre field. So I just ask you to see if you can find it within your discretion and reason to allow the readjustment that we request. So that's all I'm here to say.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Then we'll close the public hearing. Any other discussion from council? Brad, you were starting to do something.
I'll move to approve the rezoning petition and statement for 2125 Stallings Road, RZ 22.02.071. Can I do this at the same time?
Yes, sir.
And I'll also move for an approval that this request is inconsistent with the comprehensive land use plan and future planning goals of the town of Stallings and is not reasonable and in the public interest.
Is
Am I
reasonable.
supposed to do the other one? It is consistent. I'd rather do that one. It feels a lot better to say consistent. Say again?
Inconsistent, but reasonable.
It's my brain just wrapped around my pling. This is inconsistent but reasonable. Can I just stop with those words? Thank you. That's my motion, as jumbled as it was.
Could somebody figure that out and second it?
I'll second. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Yep.
Thank you.
We all moved the items, so it's not. This one now, isn't it?
Item 7.
No, we're doing 4.
Well,
What about statement of,
Max, we're doing the Vickery pinch point.
Highlight it.
Max, if you'll bring it back so we can.
Okay. Floor to Taylor Ray.
yeah, so we touched on this last time we met. when we voted on the Greenway, I brought up that some of the Vickery residents had expressed concern for a fence. So Alex had prepared a very thorough memo in our agenda packet. But just to review, at the time that Vickery was being constructed, they had donated a piece of land for the town to use as a town trail. So Destination by Design was hired to design the project and gather input from the residents with Vickery to see that their needs were being met. At the time, it was decided that landscaping would be the best form of action. However, there's been new homeowners that have occupied those homes, as well as the RE apartments have really kind of thrown a wrench into the situation. There's specifically 3 homes along Donovan that are at these designated pinch points that we've labeled, which are these 20 to 30-foot buffers between the property owner's land and where the greenway starts. And so basically what we're asking is for council to direct staff to fully price out the cost of adding an 8-foot fence, staining it, putting it on town property, maintaining it, and making sure that it is within harmony with what is already within the community. Some of the concerns that were expressed, which you guys heard tonight from the residents along those pinch points, were safety. It'd be a huge liability for some of these homeowners, as well as just quality of life and privacy, right? We had discussed taking it to the HOA, but that would require us to change to allow this fence to be approved. That would require 3/4 of the vote, which we just didn't think would pass. So that's why we're coming to the town now to ask them to get a full rundown of what that pricing would be, pull permits on it, and really figure out what all is involved, and then bring that back to council for us to decide if we could put a fence in place of landscaping. So the landscaping budget was originally $10,000, and that had been amended to $15,000 based on market value. So we're just asking to see what additional funds would be needed to make this fence happen. And then obviously there's a lot of permitting around wetlands.
What you just said included the words pull permitting. I think what you meant was just including the price of permitting in the process, not
Okay.
pull the permits
Okay. But we would eventually,
at another stage. But
Okay.
this stage is price it out, what's it gonna
Okay.
cost in the wetlands to do that, not pull permits.
okay.
But to
And
price out
Alex,
what
do you
they
have
cost.
anything to add to this?
No, I think that's a great summary, Councilmember Drake. I think really obviously when we're looking at the fencing, that's not a major endeavor at all, right? A couple of us with YouTube video and the right tools could put it up. The issue is going to be, the fact that it'll be in a floodplain and a wetland, so we probably need to engage our design firm just to make sure that we're doing all the right things. Hopefully, it's not a big deal, but dealing with wetlands and permitting, it's notorious. So I just want to kind of consult with them to help us understand the costs and what we might need to do, and then what kind of fencing we might need to put in. I don't know if it would, for example, we need just to have regular residential footers, or we would need to put in more hardy footers or something like that, given the wetland situation. So just working through all that, and we'd be happy to do that if the board so desires with our design firm, and come back to y'all with a scope of work and a potential cost.
So last we spoke, you had submitted. Have you heard back from them at all?
We've talked.
Okay. Is it looking hopeful?
Yes, I would say so. I spoke probably about 6:30 with one of our design firm folks, and he's hopeful that the wetlands permitting folks, won't require additional hydrological studies and things like that, which
Okay.
would rack up the cost. But he did mention to me that there might be some things we want to look at, just because a regular fence probably wouldn't last there like a typical residential. We'd probably need to beef that up with some footers and things like that.
But he didn't see any issues with doing that?
I think he wants to look at it more and do that, and kind of consult with one of their sub-consultants on it before he give us a straight answer. but I think he was hopeful that there wouldn't be a full-blown permit that we'd have to pull.
Okay.
There's probably some techniques that we'd probably use. They probably couldn't bring any large machinery down there. It'd have to be kind of like hand tapping and things like that, which could potentially drive up the cost, but
Wait a minute, you said you were gonna do that.
that's right, I did. I just need a YouTube
You submitted Katie to
account.
go and help you.
Volunteered.
Yeah.
Not
Found in
me.
holes.
That's right, that's right. So, I know, I need to watch what I say, I guess, so. But yeah, there's just some things, I think they wanna think out and do a little bit of a design for us. So what I'll do is, I'll go back, I'll ask them to give us a scope of work, what they think, what additional permits might be necessary, a cost for that and doing the design, and then hopefully an estimate on what it would cost to actually, kind of construct it.
Do you know about how long it'll be before it's put back onto the agenda?
You know, I would
Given
hope,
that staff advises that we could move forward with this?
I would probably think we could bring it back in time for the September agenda, which is our next meeting.
Okay.
If that's not the case, I can certainly let the board know, but in July and August, we only have one regular meeting in the month, so our next meeting would be September the 12th.
Okay.
Just,
So do we need a vote of council to direct staff or a
Yes.
consensus? All right,
So
vote.
what am I saying with the permit again? Not pull.
Not pull,
but
just price. you know,
price,
Look into
okay.
the, what permits we do need and approximate.
Yeah, what I might suggest is just make a motion to ask staff to get a cost for a scope of work for ensuring, permitting compliance, design of adding the fence.
Want to
and
motion that
estimate.
forward for me, Alex?
I think what I would suggest is, let me say this and you just say so moved. How about that?
Okay.
Just directing staff to work with an outside consultant to develop a cost for ensuring wetlands, floodplains compliance, developing a design, and an estimate for implementation.
Okay, and I say I motion that forward?
Yeah, that
Okay,
works.
I motion that forward.
All right.
Okay.
one question before we take the official vote. In that, there'll be a comparison of materials and things of that nature. 'Cause
Yeah, I
you and
think-
I cautious about wood back there.
Yeah, no, and I've heard from the residents they would prefer wood. I'm hesitant to kind of, just like I know we'd all be engineer what that would be right now. I'd want to hear what the engineering firm's recommendation be
Okay.
for the most feasible, because we want to make sure we're meeting the residents' needs with privacy. But the town, this is something that we're going to have to maintain a long time in the future, and we want to make sure that whatever kind of material, it looks good, it provides what the residents need, but at the same time, it also is something that the town won't have to budget for every year.
Yeah.
And so there is fencing in place now that we would want to be within harmony of what's already existing in the community. And just so I don't contradict myself, because I just said that our CCRs do not approve this, this was put in by the developer and by the builder. So we would want it to be compliant. And I think the reason why we had settled on wood is because we just figured it would get approved before like vinyl, or just from a cost perspective. So we're not opposed to doing that as long as its coloring is within harmony. But I think material-wise, we had just thrown out wood because of cost.
Okay, so we're gonna do what he said that you put out there.
That I motioned, yeah.
We need a second.
I'll second. Oh,
Any further discussion?
Brad, do you have anything to say? I saw you.
No, I think Alex's motion covered this. So my concern is this: I was at Holden Beach 2 weeks ago, so I have hope that this will work. That's a wooden pier standing in the middle of the ocean, but I have seen that water, and Roxanne, you about the apartments that were already approved. It's a lot of water, so I don't think you limited your analysis to wood. I think that might be a fool's game in this area. So as long as your motion will allow the engineering to come up with alternatives that will last and be screened.
And look good.
You don't want a failing fence every year either. So yeah, I'm good. I'll support.
Okay, so I motion forward what Alex said.
You got it?
We got a
A
second,
second.
we're good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, congratulations, Taylor. It's,
Thank you. I was so nervous. I was like shaking. I
Wasn't-
don't know if you saw it.
wasn't
but I
that
was
bad, was
shaking.
it?
No, it wasn't that bad.
See, if you'd have let me know that, I would have said, are you nervous?
hey, I don't think I'll call you a newbie anymore.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, not in a derogatory way. It's just you're a newbie until you do something like that.
Right. Thank you so
We're
much.
still
for
waiting
your
on Stephen to
support.
do one.
Yeah, I'm keeping that
are.
new card, new guy card.
All right. All right, next item on the agenda is conditional zoning for TX 22.07.01. Max?
All right, so what's going to talk about, so it's a text amendment for, text in the ordinance for conditional zones. Make sure you didn't think it was. So TX 220701 is the first text amendment. It's gonna come in two parts, but they're gonna be voted together. Part one is that conditional zonings require a public hearing in our ordinance currently for the planning board. And that notices, newspaper ads, proper notices for a hearing. Changing hearing to a meeting makes it optional for mail notices and newspaper ads to go out for conditional zonings for the planning board. So my amendments for 5.3 and 5.4-4 are just to remove hearing and change that wording to hearing, hearing to meeting, and then remove the mail notice requirements and newspaper ads for planning board conditional zonings.
Tons of questions about that. So keep going, but yeah,
Yeah, and
I'm
then
sorry.
in 5.4-4, just changing hearing to meeting. Nothing changes for council. Everything is for planning board for these two text amendments. And the next section is part two. For part two, the only way an applicant can apply for a conditional zoning is that if it says CZ in the use table, allows conditional zoning for that use. We're gonna add a floating conditional zoning district in this text amendment. And it'll allow applicants to apply for conditional zoning for any zoning district. So it takes amendments to Article 8.2 and 8.
Okay.
So adding a floating zoning district and then a definition as well for conditional zonings. And they kind of go hand in hand because I do see an influx of conditional zonings once we do pass this. And this can interfere with can interfere with council meetings. People can sometimes get confused with what meeting to attend when they want to get their vote or their words heard or for the final vote usually. And planning board did recommend approval for this. They wanted the mail notices to still be included for conditional zonings, but not newspaper ads. But meeting all those timelines for mail notices and town councils
Just the why. I know it's there, and I think I heard part of it was confusion because of overlapping and citizens get something in the mail and it's related to planning board, but it's not the vote, but isn't the planning board vote is advisory, but it is really important. So I know there's a bigger why here. I just didn't quite hear it because it looked like we eliminated a lot of public process. I know that's not your intent or our intent. So talk about that for a second.
So it's currently in 160B, required to be a public hearing. And this is just for conditional zoning. So currently, if we had a general rezoning go before planning board, we would put it online, we would put the zoning notice in front of the property, but we wouldn't mail currently property owners within 500 feet. Or put a newspaper ad for planning board. but we are required to do that for a conditional zone. That's a public hearing, so we're still doing all the proper notices, newspaper ads, mail notices for council meetings. Not for planning board. You know, when someone gets I'm thinking it might be confusing for some people. I haven't got any testimonies, but when they get something in the mail for planning board, 2 weeks apart or a month apart for the same item, they'll say, well, we attended planning board, but now we are getting the same item again for the council meeting. I'm assuming that could be confusing because the information is still going to go out to the public through the website as well. Our meetings.
So they're still going to get the sign on the property is going to be online, but I would like to still have, so the letter still goes out before the final decision, just not for the planning board decision.
With this text amendment.
So we're not eliminating the letter before it goes to council.
Nothing's
Okay,
changing for council.
okay,
It's just planning board only.
for planning board only, okay.
Before, I forget, I've been holding my finger in this right spot here. I'm opening the public hearing.
David.
Hey, you don't do this all the time. It's like, how do I get there? So public hearing's going on while you're doing your thing.
I think the most important component is that's going to allow conditional zonings for any property, other than the meeting notice. I think the meeting notice just makes it a little bit simpler for staff to manage it as well, and the public double notifications for 2 meetings a month,
Is there anyone from the public here for this item? No, Max? Anybody here to speak on this item? If not, then I'll close the public hearing. Any questions from council? Discussion? Further?
You're coming here for just the conditional zoning, and then we have seen a slight uptick. I mean, do they typically do? I'm bad. I have never gone to a planning board meeting. They sound like they were really exciting. So my question would be is more along the line of, do we typically see things kind of coming to the planning board and then coming back to the planning board for like conditional zoning? And the thing that I'm trying to make sure of is that, you know, ideally, the planning board is vetting any potential issues, and then we're getting a recommendation from that planning board. And my only concern with this, to some extent, is that we may miss some counter arguments, and then the board says to the council, hey, we recommend this, but yet maybe, you know, they haven't heard from everybody that may be impacted by it. So that's my only concern, is that the recommendation that this board may get may be jaded to some extent because maybe folks don't show up for the planning board. But again, that might be a concern that's not really there. You know what I mean? Because I'm not very familiar with kind of the history of how the planning board works on a kind of a month-to-month basis.
Yes, please.
I just know
Yes, you can always respond.
So the conditional zoning process still statutes for town council. So you have to mail notices 5 days before the hearing. Post a notice on the property. We post a notice out front. We do it. We post it online. I can't remember the tab. With the developments, future developments tab. Council has also adopted a policy that conditional zonings are required to go through a council for a council meeting. So 2 of you and 1 other person from that district will decision as well, so it gives the public time and maybe council time to discuss that with the public. So planning board is a recommendation board. We don't historically have very many people in attendance. We do have some people that attend that meeting that are confused why there's another meeting afterwards. Because they're
Well, I think because other towns do make that final decision, but ours does not.
it is making this a little bit simpler.
Okay.
For staff and residents. It does remove the mail notices, but they still have proper notices.
Okay. I mean, just for CZs, we may need to dig a little deeper, if you will. But, okay.
Any further discussion? Do I hear any motion?
I'm the one that's, so somebody else.
I'll make it. I mean, I think it makes sense. I think you explained it well. I'll move to approve conditional zoning amendments to Articles 5.4-3, 5.4-4, 8.2, and 8.3. I'm not going to try that.
Text amendments for the.
Yep.
And the statement?
Do I need to stumble through a statement again?
No, the statement of consistency.
I've already done that well. I thought I did that part really well.
Okay.
This is the part I'm going to struggle with.
Sorry, okay. So you said the conditional zoning amendments, so I'm just making sure.
I'm just reading. Okay.
So.
If you're approving it, it would presumably be consistent.
Consistent.
All right, this request, and I'll make a second motion that this request is consistent with our comprehensive land use plan.
No, make it part of your first
And in the
amendment.
public
Make it part of your first motion. Otherwise, you have to come back and we'll do it again.
You can do
Did I not just do that?
that. You said a second motion.
Yeah, what I just said.
As part of my first motion, I'll find this consistent with the comprehensive land. I'm
Yes.
sorry, Mac.
And is reasonable.
And is reasonable.
Yeah. Thank you, Mac.
Got it.
I got it.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
I really was this close to stepping up, just, I really was, but.
All in favor?
Aye.
Taylor Ray?
What?
All in favor?
Oh, yes, I.
Next item, TX 22.07.02, Development Agreement Amendments to Articles 715-1B, 8.4-6B, and 8.5-1B. I'll open the public hearing.
I'll make that final slide a step by step. Because I was reading and I was like, it might be a little confusing, so I will make sure that you guys are on the right track for that.
Thank you.
Yes. So TX 220702 is a request to remove development agreement.
It's that nervous thing.
Requirements for building properties of 25 acres or more. Development agreements. Okay, so there's some history on this. So the plaintiffs in Stinson Farms lawsuit challenged the requirement for a development agreement in the ordinance. They argue that the development agreement is a voluntary process and that the town did not have authority to require development agreements. One explicitly state that local governments can require development agreements. We recommend the repeal of this requirement for development agreements until statute or there's case laws that make this clear. So continue. The development agreement process is more for a mixed-use, multi-phase development process.
Like the hospital?
Like a hospital, not like a single-family residential property. The repeal of these sections doesn't mean that we're removing development staff and I'm assuming council as well can recommend them to the. So these are the three amendments. We are just removing them completely. These all require development agreements for 25 acres over in size. Recommended approval.
I certainly.
First of all, anybody from the public need to speak or want to speak on this issue?
Okay, so I loved all the Stinson Farm stuff. That was great. But, I mean, with the 25, this, at this point in time, when that was first added to the ordinance, that was supposed to be like a protection for us that said, hey, this is required for projects of this size to kind of help us out with being able to better handle those projects. He knows where I'm going with this, because, so if we remove this, I guess, what protections do we have for being able to guide developments in the future?
Several things.
Okay.
This is the last thing I think we'll do out of every multifamily development. And the ordinance you just passed to create plus making all of the multifamilies CZ. And you now have complete control of the things that you want to have control of. Development agreements are really most useful when you're trying to coordinate public and private infrastructure improvements. But most of the infrastructure improvements in Stallings are going to be either roadway improvements that are dictated by NCDOT, improvements that are probably my guess is you will never see another development agreement. All of the things that you want to control, you're going to get to control from CZ rezoning, for floating zone or CZs for anything that's multifamily. You have all the protections you need.
Okay, so you don't see any, I mean, when I think about the downtown area, you feel like we're covered from, that's what I'm hearing. Okay.
Because the ordinance you just passed to create a floating CZ zone is exactly what would be appropriate.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Mac. Any further discussion? Any motion?
All right, I'll make a motion for text amendment TX 220702 for the development agreement amendments to Articles 715.
Sorry, Stephen, I hate to interrupt. Just in case I cannot remember, I am closing the public hearing. I thought I did,
I thought you did.
but there's some doubt to my left. And they count. Stephen, sorry to interrupt, but can
No,
you
no.
carry on?
We'll make a motion to approve text amendment TX 22.0702. And I'll also go ahead and include in that the statement of consistency and reasonableness. Request is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and future planning goals of the town of Stallings, and it is reasonable in the public interest. It will allow for an urban scale density consistent with the FLU type future land use designation recommended by the Stallings Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Thank you all. All right. Now we get to the next item, annexation 56 Castle Bridge Lane. And we do have, I'm going to let him speak now because he got confused, not confused, just John, sorry, can you spell your, or say your last name? Oh, okay. And your address, all that.
So looking to find out why I want to become part of Stallings is what I'm speaking to.
Yeah.
Generally, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, my family and I were invested in the community. And we, part of this, will be part of what we have here. Like, this has been a great experience, honestly, today for me. Three-fourths of our neighborhood is in Stallings. If you look at the map, it's kind of a cutout, but there's 20-some lots that are not included. I went back and looked in the annexation archives, and for whatever reason, three-fourths of the neighborhood was annexed. I don't know if these houses were built after that or what. Either way, I'd like to be part of the community. We have a son at Stallings Elementary, from our house, be able to be involved in the local elections, that type of thing. Also, when it comes to emergency services, I'm concerned that there might be some confusion, especially when it comes to like law enforcement, since we are kind of carved out in around Stallings, as far as if we needed, police or whatever, there could be some jurisdictional confusion. That may or may not be the case. I don't know. But that's something that I thought of. And so, yeah, I mean, it just kind of makes sense. I actually thought we were part of Stallings when we purchased the house based on what the previous owner informed us. So that's kind of long and short of it. And also another small thing, we can't get recycling services at our house. And the nearest recycling center is over 20 minutes.
Well, I appreciate you coming tonight and,
Yep, thank you for allowing me.
and wanting to join our town or be annexed into our town. Max or Alex, is there anything that we need to do other than take a vote? We've gotten all the information before, right? Are we ready?
Yeah.
The fact that he's still, after being here, still
You
wants
still
to.
want to be
Yeah.
a part of us?
Yeah.
Yes. Cemented it even more.
Somebody, I'm trying to not do it as.
So I just say I motion to annex 56 Castle Bridge Lane.
That's it.
Yay.
Oh, she might.
All in favor?
Oh, I did that.
I'll second it.
There is an ordinance. Ms. McCall, if you could pull up that ordinance, please. We just need to approve to adopt the ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Stallings.
You can make that bigger, somebody might be able to read. Do you want us to read the whole thing or just, oh?
Oh, I motion to the ordinance to extend that part?
Yeah.
I motion the ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Stallings, North Carolina for the annexation of 56 Castle Bridge Lane.
Yep. Or legal?
Is that legal?
Good?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll second. Thank you.
Heather already, oh wait, sorry, we're gonna do it over again. So, Taylor A., Brad, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All unanimous.
I'm
Thank you
just
very much.
checking all
Welcome
the
to
boxes
Stallings.
tonight.
Thank you so much, and thanks to Erin, who I know is not here, but
Yeah.
she was a great help to me from the process. Thank you.
All right. Brian knows when he's up. Next item, bypass phase 2 landscape plan and irrigation.
Background, I'm basically just gonna kind of read the notes. First presented this with Jeff Lackey from NCDOT, was at a council meeting on June 28th. And basically, you all know the area down there by the hospital, that whole corridor. So, the plan was presented to you guys. Colors that were going to be Stallings, get rid of a lot of turf grass, identified a couple of areas for irrigation, namely, which is going to be the hillside facing the hospital and then the roundabout right there. And we've identified doing like a drip irrigation system.
into the plan now, and we so have Jeff Lackey here from NCDOT, so he can present the plan way better than I can and answer any questions y'all might have. You scroll into the map.
Welcome.
So you only go through the map. Scroll it down.
This is council, Mayor and Pro Tem. I'm Jeff Black. I work for a group called Roadside Environmental. And we are a small office within DOT. We pretty much deal with everything outside of the asphalt. I think a lot of times people think of DOT, we always think about roads, but there's a lot more to it than our group particularly manages a lot of things. We do erosion control, we do wetland mitigation, stormwater management. I work in a section called study engineering, and we manage the state. Developing parks to mitigate historic district areas, streetscapes, landscaping, revegetation, ecological restoration. Those are some of the things that we do. So just to kind of give you that heads up. It looks like you all have my old plans, but I can work with these. Originally in the plans that I had revised, there was a strip map that kind of showed where Stallings was in McKee. But nevertheless, this is basically at the back to the top where we were at, we can start right there. This is at the McKee Street interchange, bridge area there. One thing to kind of keep in perspective is that early on, the turnpike, we're actually working for the turnpike on this particular project, which is kind of unusual in the sense of how we do project workflows. Normally, when we have a TIP project, we would normally go meet with the municipality early on before the road is actually built to kind of get an idea of what direction that municipality or town would like to go. In this particular case, we were working with the turnpike, not very aware of what we were going to do. What we did is we looked at our aesthetics guidance, and I don't know if you all are familiar with that, but we have some documents that kind of provide us guidelines, but also they give you ideas of what we have done and things that can be done. In that document, we have a 3-tier classification. We have what we call landmark design, enhanced designs, and standard designs. Working with the turnpike, one of the things they wanted to do is that all the major bridges, they wanted to do what we call a landmark design. That involves a lot more in terms of landscaping, some hardscape, some to create placemaking and things of that nature for those communities that may be So we initially started this particular project. One of the things we wanted to do is that working with the turnpike was to create this landmark design. So a lot of the elements that you see in this particular development are typical of that. And if you look at this particular plan layout, you'll see a massing of the stilton, which is an evergreen shrub, and with the red circles. Also, one of the things, and this is just feedback from you all, is that you wanted to pretty much eliminate any of the turf that's out there. And so we went back in and we included Riverstone, and I wish I had my other plan because I got images of those things. But nevertheless, I can share that with you all post this this meeting to kind of give you some idea of what that looks like. But in this particular plan right here, we've got a mix of the Stillum, the Tennessee Riverstone, which is taking out a lot of the
If you let me scroll down, I think there are some pictures you're talking about.
part of the original concept that I had submitted.
I have that one, it's just not right here.
That's okay.
My bad.
We'll kind of navigate through all of this. But looking at this particular plan, the kind of red circles are the stilton, which is kind of an evergreen shrub mashed together. Mixed in with that would be some nelliars to kind of bring some verticality to the bridge, which is this horizontal element to kind of break that up. Also on that bridge, there's some painting that we try to mask up in this line and alignment. Combined with that also is, in the yellow would be Rebecca and daylilies. That's what the yellow and orange is. So these are perennials that are going to provide color in the summer, early spring, late spring. Mixed in with those daylilies and Rebecca, or the yellow flowering, would be daffodils. So we would have late winter, early spring flowering. And in combination with that, also, and this is where I kind of made some changes. If you look at the kind of magenta
towards to the right there. I went back in, originally we had developed this palette of plant material that we would use consistently. I kind of switched that up because there were talks, I think Heather, you were part of those conversations where the town wanted to kind of incorporate some type of color scheme that was in line with the magenta kind of light. What I did is went back and switched those out with forest pansy, redbud, which is kind of a native that provides that color, but also during the summer months, it has these kind of really provide some color and interest during this time of the year when we get a whole lot of interest. Mixed in with that would be what we would call powwow echinacea, which is a coneflower, has a deep red color as well. And those would kind of set the stage for these two interchanges, which are very much in alignment with the other interchanges. We're just using a different color scheme to kind of set it apart. As well as removing any of the sod that we were originally going to use and replacing that with the riverstone. So, Brian, you can just kind of shuffle through the next slides. This is one of the medians right above, I guess, it's actually to the south. Trying to get my bearings here. It's to the south of the bridge. We went in originally, I had turf. Landmark designs are very kind of high profile designs, where typically we're going to incorporate solid because we're able to get nice edges, but also that kind of green turf edge that you typically would see in kind of higher profile areas. In this particular case, working with the town, they realized that they didn't want to put individuals in harm's way to go out there and maintain those turf areas. So we basically eliminated all of the original and extended a lot of the planting as, and in this particular case, we've extended the daylily, and actually the yellow where we have the black-eyed Susan has been swapped out with the powwow echinacea, which is kind of that red flowery cone flower. So with that, the extension of the brick, and that's what the red kind of hash looking areas would be brick edging. That plant material in conjunction with the forest pansy redbud would be the extension of the palette that would be used in these meetings. One of the other major kind of, I guess, gateway quadrants for this particular, this is Stallings, is that the major quadrant right now is pretty much grown over with a lot of weeds and things of that nature. We would go in, of course, eliminate all of the weeds, and pretty much do a mass planting of all of the plant material that we just listed. Black-eyed Susan, the powwow coneflower, a mixture of the forest pansy and redbuds, but also we have the ability to put some larger trees to kind of ground that quadrant. So it'd be a mix of native trees, oaks, maples, cryptomeria, which is an evergreen to kind of provide another green background for a lot of the perennials. And in this particular quadrant, that's kind of the mixture of plant materials, kind of a combination of all those things I just addressed earlier.
Chet, you said some of the oaks, maples. Did I misunderstand that in the median?
No, that would be in this quadrant here. So you have the median, which is in the south.
So when you say quadrant, you mean I got it.
Yeah.
I'm with you now, sorry.
Yeah, these are a little different bridges. Typically, we have our quads where we have acceleration ramps, but such a tight right-of-way because of the right-of-way and trying to minimize the impact. We had that one little small quadrant, which we're basically going to just fill in with a variety of plant material. Pretty much the color scheme that we talked about, as well as a mixing in some of the other plant material that you already have seen out there. Black-eyed Susan, some of the daylilies mixed in with that. So, pulling up the other one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's got the pictures in there, so I
Yeah,
think
it'll
pictures
make
are
more
worth a
sense when
thousand
you see the
words.
images here, so. Sorry about that, but hopefully it's making some sense.
I don't think it's yours. I think it's Brian's fault.
There's some pictures.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so
pretty.
this is the plant material that we're looking at. That top image would be the powwow coneflower, which would be very unique to the Stallings Bridge interchange area there. Right below it is the forest pansy redbud. That's it blooming in late spring. To the right of that, you see it flush with its purple leaves. So this kind of purple theme is kind of unique to the Stallings Bridge interchange. The stones to the right are Tennessee River Rock. That will be incorporated pretty much in all of the areas that we originally had turf, but also a lot of these kind of raised planta areas, which are right now. We'll go in and clean all that out, spray it out, put landscape fabric and fill that in with this
Will that river rock be gray or tan?
It's pretty much like that. It'll be brown, gray
A
to
mix.
match
Okay.
the coloration that's on the bridges, a lot of the architectural elements. So it's along that line. The photo's probably not doing it as good a justice as it should, but it's typically kind of a brown beige kind of mixture. A fact sheet about the Echinacea powwow. Panoramic Farm, I think, has been providing a lot of the plant material we are using here, in large part because this Monroe Expressway is a 22 stretch mile road, and landscaping that is a massive amount of plant material. But this particular cultivar is very unique, provides some really interesting color scheme, and it's a native as well. So, a lot of the plant material, pretty much not all of it, is pretty hard. And honestly, and I always tell folks, and I expressed it to you all earlier, is that if you look at the projects that are already installed, none of that is irrigated. It's native stuff that we've been using throughout my duration here at DOT. And it does pretty good once we get it installed in the proper season, but also soils amended and established. Speaking of established, one of the things that we do within the department, once a project is installed, we put what we call an establishment on it. So the contractor will not only be responsible for installing the plant material, all the things that you see on these particular plans, but also once it's installed and accepted by the division, he or she or whoever's gotten the contract will be responsible for maintaining it the entire year. Then after that, then it's obviously given over to the town to maintain. We can probably slide through some of them next.
So you have success without irrigation?
Yeah, actually, if you go out there and look at the toll road now, a lot of the plant material that's been used out there is pretty much what's going to be incorporated. The difference being is that it's going to be a little bit more concentrated, but also you have that intersection there where people are parked a little bit more. Not only that, we're going to use a couple of varieties of trees, powwow, echinacea, and the forest pansy redbud as kind of an identifier for the town of Stallings as compared to the other areas. No, we typically, as a department, do not do irrigations. Now, we will work with municipalities in terms of working with them and providing them, funding to do that. That is part of our landscape infrastructure. But from the department standpoint, we normally do not do it. Projects that we've done, and I've been with the department for 29 years. The ones that we've done 20 plus years ago, they just do not do well. Normally what happens, we have errant vehicles that run over, heads pop, water spraying out everywhere. But also, it's just a long-term maintenance issue. Now, we do work with municipalities that have personnel in place to maintain it. For example, City of Fayetteville is a classic one. They have an entire squad of people who go out and maintain irrigation. Normally what we do is we provide them the money, we reimburse them the money, they install it, and they have personnel to kind of maintain it. That's their thing. They like to take medians, irrigate, put crepe myrtles in it, and sod. That's their strategy within the city.
Okay, thank you.
But having said that, we do irrigation. From a department standpoint, we do not do it for ourselves.
Touch quick base on that. Right here are the only two areas identified that would be the roundabout. Across from the hospital, that is the only two areas that we've identified to do irrigation with council so desires.
Which is a good thing, because one of the other things I think a lot of times municipalities aren't aware of is, probably aware of, is that traffic control, whenever these beds and particularly medians, are maintained. There is a pricing that comes with traffic control. Someone has to go out there and control, and that intersection there at Stallings is a very busy intersection. I was out there earlier riding around. So traffic control has to be considered in the maintenance log of how this is going to be maintained. Safety of individuals out there trying to maintain.
Let's consistently have to have one person that's just watching traffic.
Yeah. That's something to consider as the town moves forward and making a decision as to how we so.
Are all 4 quadrants getting treated?
Actually, it's just this one quadrant right here.
Just the hospital quadrant?
Well, yeah, that's.
And then the roundabout.
Yeah, the one that's right here, that's pretty much the only space that you have. All of the other areas on the bridge, if you look to the top of the bridge interchange, quasi interchange, all that is a kind of a raised planter that's basically filled with weeds right now. What we'll do is in all those areas at the McKee Street interchange there, as well as the Stallings, we'll go through and spray all of that out, provide landscape fabric, and then fill in the Tennessee River rock, which will allow, you know, water to seep through, but at the same time, it's going to provide a nice little barrier to kind of ward off any type of weed growth that may come.
But, I'm sorry, I'm confused again. Brian, would you, the green strip at the top with the orange and red circles?
Right here?
Is that, when I think quadrant, that's what I meant. Is that?
That's on the other side, you know, right here, this would be.
Yep, got
This
that.
is going across 74, and on the other side, this is Stallings Commerce. Right there, you know, you got the convenience store over here.
Yep.
It's closed down, so it will
Right.
be this area right there.
Which will be planted.
Yes.
With,
Yeah, but they'll be individuals, large deciduous trees,
Okay.
pretty much what's out along the toll road.
Everything else is kind of cookie cutter, so to speak, will look the same, except, you know, council identified wanting to do something different on the hillside that face the hospital, like to really kind of make it stand out.
okay.
And also, the Tennessee River rock is going to be exclusive to the Stallings interchange. We're not using it anywhere else. So those are a couple of things that kind of identify and set Stallings apart from some of the other interchanges.
Last question is, when does all this happen?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I work, our office pretty much works with the division. We have 14 divisions throughout the state. Bruce is not here, I can't speak for them. I do know, and Alex, you've probably seen some of the emails. The goal is to have this installed or beginning the installation of this fall. Our plant season typically starts October 31st to March 31st. That's kind of our window. Ideally, but, you know, depending on if we have a crazy winter, I mean, all kinds of things come into play. But also, you know, these projects are bid out, low bid. Once the contractor gets that, you know, we kind of give them some penalty dates if they don't meet certain things. But in terms of how they kind of orchestrate all of this, that's kind of up to them. But having said that, the last that I heard from Bruce and is that this fall is when they plan.
Talked to Bruce, he said as long as we get the local agreement stuff worked out, fall is what he was looking at for install.
And that's the big part too, is that I think early on in the presentation here, I talked about kind of project workflow. This is kind of a unique project because it's a turnpike, and there's a lot of liaisons between a lot of municipalities as well as our section, which typically isn't the case. Normally what would happen is our group would provide a concept, and we would literally get feedback. And in that feedback process, we would get town council or whoever the governing body is to provide us a letter of resolution, which says that we're committed to this particular project. Once we get that letter of resolution, we move to 85, 95% back with town council again, review it to make sure it's in alignment with you all's vision for the area. And if it is, then we just move forward to bidding it out. In that process of bidding it out, we would have the town, city, municipality sign off on what we call a municipal agreement. And I don't know if you all have worked with the department during a municipal agreement, but in that agreement, it pretty much outlines responsibilities from the town, city, in terms of maintaining liability and things of that nature.
So well, I appreciate your coming to speak with us tonight.
Yeah,
I had a
thank
lot of
you.
questions ahead of time, and I've learned over the years, I know diddly squat about landscaping and colors and whatever. And so I appreciate your knowledge, and I always defer to the experts, or try to, in the answer. So, any other questions from council?
I
No.
actually got a question for Alex. I know you're gonna be talking about the presentation. That plant palette and everything is what the town is looking for in terms of like implementing.
I believe so, yes, sir.
One thing is that that particular project needs to go to our public art committee. On that
Right?
because of the kind of sculptural wayfinding that's gonna be in that roundabout, since it's in our right of way, it still would need to go through our public art. That involves six different unit heads, traffic, structures, utilities, right of way, Department of Cultural Resources. What they do is they bring that expertise, review it, make sure it fits our guidelines, mainly a lot of the traffic guidelines, safety setbacks. Once that's approved, then we kind of make our comments, give you all the blessing.
All right, Jeff, thank you for that. It was my understanding that we went through and got all the DOT approvals, but it sounds like there might be something else that we need to work through. Yes, sir, went through the local office. I know that they had to look at, make sure the site distance was right and all that good stuff. So I do want to thank you, Jeff, because I'm not just saying this, we work a lot of varied folks with local government, but you obviously are very knowledgeable, do a great job, very responsive. So I want to thank you for your help with this. Thank you.
And willing to come out.
Yeah.
I will say this, I'm gonna have to sneak out. I got a 3-hour drive back to Raleigh,
So
Drove down here just for us.
Well, before he leaves, I will remind Alex that Stallings' original roundabout is in District 6, which was built by, Terwilliger Pappas for the Solis project. And we have talked at this council level about planting that roundabout with similar colors and materials as we're going to do around the bypass. So I'm not looking at Jeff to do that, but I do want to re-engage in that. It looks pretty horrible, and it's a great part of the town that we need to.
It's the other end, that would be a gateway into town.
Yeah, so let's talk about that in a planting season in coordination. Our neighbors are loving to see that done.
we might be able to steal some of Jeff's ideas fair and square.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's
See,
public record.
I have one last
One other thing though is, it sounds like you all wanna go with the irrigation there in the quadrant, you don't have that image of roundabout. Okay, so I just, so the roundabout here in that quadrant and not the medians. I have to talk to our guy and make sure we go back.
One more-
It's being designed pretty much for all.
one more question before you feel like you need to leave, but if we approve this, or when we approve this tonight, what's next? You said a resolution and an interlocal, those have to come next, or where are we at?
So a letter resolution, and then what will happen is Bruce will supply a municipal agreement. Melanie will probably have to sign off on that. I mean, you're probably familiar with our
I am.
municipal agreements.
Yes, sir.
It's just one of those things that we do.
So we don't meet again until September
Could
12th.
we do the letter of resolution and the interlocal agreement at the same meeting?
That would be great.
So we can just do it all in one step. It
Okay,
shouldn't be an
so
issue.
the timing won't put us out of the planting
Yes,
season.
we probably will not, knowing how we normally have like an 8-week lead on our lets, so that's like 2 months. So I'm looking at probably just because contracting within the division has to go through certain things that they require.
So we'll work through the interlocal agreement. There's typically some tweaks that need to be made, or intergovernmental agreement, excuse me. And then I believe it goes to the division, they sign off on it, and then it'll go to the state board, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff.
Yeah, actually, the state money, it will just, that municipal agreement will be dealt.
Oh, we don't need it, that'll speed it up then really quickly.
Yeah,
That's great
see, these
news.
are turnpike monies, the money's already been allocated. It's just.
So Bruce can approve it.
Yeah.
That's great. All right.
Awesome.
No board transportation.
Any other questions from council?
Nope.
clarify before we lose Jeff, do y'all want him to include the irrigation in those two spots, the roundabout and the area across from the hospital that we identified?
Thought we already did that.
Yeah, I thought we just did that.
We've got a couple, can you go to the questions on your memo? Brian, just pull those up and make it big there. I think these are the two things that Brian did a good job just identifying what we're hoping to get direction from on the board tonight, more formally.
A little bit larger, Brian. Thank you. Bullet two, tell us, what does that involve, yea or nay?
It would just be if, when we first had the discussion, council wasn't completely sold on irrigation. There's pros and cons to both sides if we wanted to do it or not. And we're just looking for that final direction if you want Jeff to include those two areas to move forward with irrigation being in those areas, or if we want to eliminate it.
So if we'd say no, that drops the cost. What happens to that difference? I mean, if we get irrigation in the state.
Right.
Yeah.
We will pay for that. The only thing is, part of the municipal agreement is we will not.
Sure.
Op-eds, just.
I got you.
Yeah, going forward.
So you'll pay for it, and if we choose not to, we aren't gonna get that much more back in landscaping. We're just gonna lose that
You're
irrigation
gonna pretty much get all the landscaping that's there. That money's kind of.
regardless. A little
already
extra.
Kind of been solidified.
extra. Then I suggest we just do it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
When or if it. What I was worried about was we're gonna put a bunch of stuff that's reliant on irrigation to live. It sounds like what you're saying is all along there, they're not. It's a hardy plant growth, which is what I wanna see, because I just do. But if we have irrigation, that'll help get this stuff started
Yeah.
and get it to the point where it's,
And then
whatever the
if it
right word
breaks,
is,
you can,
figure out what to do with it in the future.
We can always
That
winterize it and
wrap it
not
up?
have to use it.
Yeah.
I know we had talked to Brian about possibly talking to a local vendor.
Do those circles over there in Southern Pines? Those are nice. I was just over there 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Real quick question. Is it already pre-plumbed, or are we gonna have to dig up the road? You'll have to bore? Okay, all right. But no cutting, just boring?
Yeah, we got to bore. Normally what would happen if early on before the road. This is a little different project. Work with the turnpike's a little different.
Maybe one of the roundabout. I think there may be a sleeve there.
I believe we put one in as part of that when we were doing the hospital project and just because we thought it would be a lot more expensive on the back end to do it.
Yeah, we had factored in, Speaking of that, also the town would need to have a tap and a meter.
Okay, that's,
All right.
I thought that,
Kyle's one of the other landscape architects.
All right, so council, questions?
I'm not sure, actually.
So,
Yes?
Yeah, so just, the first one would be,
Approve the plan and.
Sorry.
yeah,
Approve the plan and then irrigation or not.
so just motion and then read all of those?
yeah, I would just, you could approve, the
The
NCDO landscape plan for the Highway 74 hillside and the Gateway Monument Roundabout, and authorize staff to develop an interlocal agreement, for the installation and short-term maintenance. That'd be
Okay,
the
so I
first one.
motion to approve the NCDOT landscape plan for Highway 74 hillside and the Gateway Monument Roundabout, and motion for the NCDOT for installation and short-term maintenance, as well as irrigation in the identified areas.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
By Lorraine and Heather, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that took care of the first bullet. Second bullet was the irrigation, yay or nay?
Yay.
Well,
I believe I
think-
heard that in the.
It was in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
oh, good, thank you. I was like, well, you didn't catch that second
You can't do everything, David.
one. Trying. All right, thank you very much. We approved it, we like it, and look forward to seeing some,
And safe travels back.
yeah. Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right, guys, moving along.
Yeah.
I like that one. All right, next up, gateway signage bid results. Alex will lead us on that
Did you
one.
really? Oh, I thought it was pretty.
So, just as a brief, environment here, so, you know, one of the council's top goals as well as the, strategies that we set set aside in our big picture strategy session was to try to install the gateway monument signage this fiscal year. So we have gone through and bid it out. We've gotten 2 bids back, but it's been a while, I think, since we looked at the drawings. Would you like to pull up the images just to kind of remind you all what they look like?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm good.
I'm good too.
Okay.
I'm excited to hear the numbers.
So, we had, got 2 bids initially. Lowest responsive bid was just under 462,000. You can see the exact number up there, which is about 172,000 lower than the other bidder. Talking to our design budget, you'll recall during the budget session, we put $300,000 in the budget. That was more financing and impact of this project.
Funding the additional asking council really to,
does use the far as the town itself, have auditors in this week, and I feel very comfortable with the town to be able to
Thank you. Council, discussion?
Where's my helicopter after this? That's what I want to know. That's just, I mean, I have to be honest with everybody here. I mean,
Thank you.
it's expensive.
We appreciate that.
It's 50% higher.
I mean, it's more expensive than probably most of the homes in Stallings for a sign that's probably going to be what, like 10 feet long or less. I mean, I'm also tailored on the far. I mean, this is supposed to be kind of our gateway area, and it. I mean, I understand spending money to maximize some return on economic
Pull it
development,
up,
but I'm kind of.
please.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I told Alex, I think,
So too.
I think this is, it will only get more expensive, perhaps. We're in a high inflationary environment, costs are crazy, no one's got time to do things. Yet, it's nice, and I think it's premature. Um, Jokingly, I said, I feel like we'll get a little bit laughed at for being grand when we're not yet grand. We're good. But once we have a downtown built out, once we have a hospital-related development around those intersections, then I'd be inclined to maybe look
Go
at the,
down, Alex.
look at the added revenue from those developments and begin to
It
put it
lights
together.
up. Go down to the next slide.
That's
So
my
it-
thoughts. We'd
it's-
wait.
And I agree. I've been wanting something there for a while, and this came in at 50% higher. And I know my own budget, because I can afford something, doesn't mean I should. So I'm inclined to hold off on this for now and figure out.
Is that an example? Is that, so that's Hickory, so that's an example. So that is actually installed in Hickory. And that's what we would be kind of imaging.
It's tough. It's beautiful. I think it'd be great, but
Yeah. And we've
I just
already
can't believe how expensive it is. Do we have to do the light up? I mean, I guess we have to light it up, right?
No, I don't even think that includes
Do we have
lighting.
oh, that doesn't, whoa, that cost doesn't include lighting it up?
Does.
Oh, it does.
Ask you about that.
Would be wired and ready to be.
Wait, it would be lit up all around, or there would be uplighting?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, so the whole thing would be lit up. The actual structure.
Structure would be lit.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. It's just really expensive.
Well, I'm glad that y'all said that, because I earlier was like, I don't want to, but I don't want to go against what people have worked so hard on.
I mean, I love it. It's just
And if the cost was that 300, I think we'd bite the bullet and, well, maybe some opinions would be like for it, but
Do you think do you think it'll come down, or it's for sure that it will only go up in cost?
it will. I think it will go up, but I don't think now's the time for us to go 50% over and do it. I agree with Brad. We gotta have something concrete down here on the ground that we've done. We're on the verge of a lot of neat things. And when that happens, then I'd be much more inclined to do that.
I'm kind of more on the technical side. Well, why do we think this costs this much? I mean, is it,
Stephen, you're asking a lot of stuff that is hypothetical and not pertinent to our decision.
well,
But
well,
that is
no.
a- that is
I don't want to
mean-
interrupt you, but
At the same, this is beautiful and I get it.
And is it expensive to repair? Like, say one of these LED plates goes out, is it, I don't know. I don't think we need to, I think we all agree that this is not, I think we can motion to not do this. Yeah.
I get it. I'm just trying to understand what is driving such an, to me, this does not look like a $500,000 sign.
Right.
And maybe again, you could build somebody's house for $500,000 and,
and so.
so I guess what I'm trying to understand is where is that costing coming in? Is it because these pedals are custom made? And maybe you don't have an answer to that. I'm just trying to understand where that costing is coming from. Okay.
Without pretending, I know
Yeah, okay.
Any further questions?
Nope. I think we're good.
Any
I think we're
motion?
ready.
Lead off with a motion.
You're on fire tonight.
I am. I'm like, let's go.
She really is.
I
This
do.
is-
I
she's
really
our-
want ice cream.
This is our
I'm
coming
really
out party.
pregnant.
Ice cream.
So do you need a motion to do what tonight? Are we doing anything? We're not approving it, so.
put a bow on it. I think
So I'll motion not to move forward with the gateway signage bid results.
A second, that's the right motion. I'd like to.
Concur.
That was the second.
I got it. Council vote?
Well, one question, how does that work? We're effectively saying we're putting it on pause until some point in the future, or are we basically saying it's DOA?
I agree with what Brad said. Until we have something concrete on the ground, I think at that point, we need to revisit this conversation.
So 10 million of development, if I do the math right, Marcia, help me. Do the math right, 10 million in development would be $18,000 in new tax revenue. Right? Is that right? I'm sorry.
About right.
And then a Chick-fil-A, I just looked it up at Independence Trail, that's worth, the value on that's 1.4. Chick-fil-A's wouldn't even pay for an additional tax revenue. Really expensive way to try to fund this with development at our tax rate being so low. Just some perspective. I don't know. I'm struggling. I like it, but I don't think I can vote for it. So I would just say, Steve, the plans will be the plans. I love the plans. And we just will pause, and once an opportunity, maybe we rebid it in the future when the economy's different. Prices of aluminum
stuff
down. And
a month from now, right? Two, 3 years from now.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It looks great, though.
It's so pretty, but I just can't believe it's so expensive.
It's, oh, no, it's like- oh, sure.
The draft memo in your packet wasn't on everything with it to go out.
Is it the one you just sent this afternoon?
Yes,
Oh, I got it.
yes, but then there's additional exhibits.
Okay, because I got your,
Yes,
Not expecting.
and then I'm
you to
gonna
read
ask
this.
for one other.
I already read it. You want me to
oh,
paraphrase
third.
it?
Yeah, paraphrase, please.
Is that on here?
No,
You say it will,
So just for background on this particular project, as Melanie gets that set up, as part of the Atrium Hospital Development Agreement, per our ordinance, they had to do a transportation impact analysis, and per that TIA, it required them to do some transportation improvements, including one intersection that's actually not in Stallings, it's actually an Indian Trail, at the intersection of Indian Trail Road and Matthews Indian Trail Road and Unionville Road. It's just really an intersection that I think gives them trouble. And when Indian Trail learned about this, we try to stay in constant communication with their staff. And Indian Trail has some plans to do some upgrades of that road that are separate from what Atrium is required to do. So Indian Trail said, hey, could we take Atrium's money and do it all at once so we don't tear up the intersection more than once for the businesses, the residents, the public that go there. So Melanie, can I turn it over to you with that?
Yes, that's a very helpful background information. We originally had the interlocal agreement, which is the agreement between Stallings and Indian Trail, drafted in December of 2020. Karen Walter was the Indian Trail Town Attorney. She drafted it with Indian Trail's interest in mind, and then I made some red line changes. You know, we discussed it and came up with an agreement that we both felt like represented both of our clients. Due to the pandemic and some other issues, Atrium asked if they could have additional. They weren't ready to write provide the 1.174 million in funds to the town, and we were hoping to have this done prior to Karen's last day, which was the end of March of 2022. However, although we've asked Atrium several times, status of the agreement, you know, there's various boards and individuals that have to go through and approve everything. So on July 26th, we got a executed amendment to the development agreement. And what that amendment to the development agreement does is allow them to provide funds in lieu of doing the actual road improvements. I'm going to back up a step, though. As now you all know, I represent both Indian Trail and Stallings. So it puts me in an awkward position to say, hey, I need you to approve this interlocal agreement between two clients, right? It's not litigation. It's not two towns arguing against each other. However, there still is that perceived conflict of interest. And I put some information in the memo about the rules of professional conduct, but basically what it requires me to do is get permission from the clients in writing of my continued representation. Indian Trail's meeting is tomorrow night, and I'm not providing them any advice about the interlocal agreement. Ms. Walter came back in, I mean, she still represents Weddington, she's still around, and advised the board that she recommends they approve the agreement. The only changes were the dates that the funds were due, and the amount of money went up from the December, but not since Ms. Walter left the town of Indian Trail. What was not included in your packet are the 3 exhibits that will be attached to the interlocal agreement. The first one is the memo from Kim Lee Horn about the improvements. Exhibit 2 is the actual cost analysis that has the $1,174,000. And then Exhibit 3 is the original development agreement between Charlotte Mecklenburg Hospital Authority and the town of Stallings. And then at the back is the amendment to the development agreement. On the memo I just gave you, I have the first two motions that I'm asking you to make. Because we do not have another meeting in August, and because it's a minor amendment to the development agreement, it technically does not have to come before council. However, I think Alex would feel more comfortable if you all would make a motion to authorize him to execute the amendment to the development agreement only upon Indian Trail's execution of the interlocal agreement. Because we didn't want to be in a situation where we've approved this amendment to the DA, Atrium's off the hook, but then Indian Trail hasn't said, yeah, I'm going to take these funds and apply it to the road improvements. We're kind of the middleman in all of this. We're receiving the money, we're passing it on to Indian Trail, but we need to make sure that the agreement's in place to protect the town.
What happened?
Of course.
What happens is things often do get delayed and costs go up. Walk us through, and that may not be, do you understand?
Yes.
The question is, we sign interlocal to let the funds go to Indian Trail after it comes to us. Funds come here, then it goes there. Indian Trail is responsible at a certain fixed cost. What if they have to wait 3 years?
They know they are only getting $1,174,000 as Atrium's contribution that's coming through us. There was, from December to March, the price went up, and you're right, it's probably gone up since then, but Indian Trail already had the Complete Street project as something that they had planned on doing. So I think, they're happy that they're getting these additional funds to help with that project.
We're not on the hook in any way if
No.
numbers change. We're
No,
just a pass-
absolutely not.
Just the pass-through?
We're just the middleman.
Okay. Any questions, council? I have two of the motions. Where's the third?
The third is.
Oh, how am I
Oh,
going
no,
to read that?
No, it's on my paper.
No, that. I can read that.
Oh, it's on
Okay.
the memo I just gave you. The motions are, on the memo I just gave you are the reworded ones.
There's two of them. The third one is.
Don't, go ahead and take that down, yeah.
I got it right here.
The first motion
Third one?
starts with having been fully informed,
Yeah.
because that needs to be in writing, so if someone will read that off, please.
First motion, I'll just go ahead and read it. I'll make the motion. Having been fully informed of the conflict of interest and Melanie Cox's reasonable belief that she will be able to provide competent and diligent representation to the town of Stallings, notwithstanding the conflict of interest, and further having been informed that Stallings has the right to seek other counsel to represent its interest in the matter, the town council consents to Ms. Cox's continued representation of the town.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
One thing that was in the memo, but I did not state, in the event there is some sort of disagreement, I would obviously bow out and ask Mr. McCarley or someone else to represent Stallings, and Indian Trail will get their own attorney.
Kind of like what we talked about, kind of a synergy, not really a conflict of interest.
Second motion is a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with the town of Indian Trail for construction and road improvements contingent upon the town of Indian Trail's approval.
I'll second it.
Taylor Ray?
Mhm.
Okay. All I heard was a female voice that direction. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And the third one that you want read?
Yes, please.
All right. The third one is a motion to authorize Alex Sewell, Mr. Sewell, to execute the amendment to the development agreement upon Indian Trail's execution of the interlocal agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
That's
All
all I
right.
have.
We're good to go?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I was like, I thought I wrote notes over here. I wrote
There's
them on
also one
yours.
other item. So you had, in the list of the budget ordinance that you have in front of you, it's amended budget ordinance number 5. This is a budget ordinance we need to approve to effectuate the transfer, so to account for the $1.174 million coming in, and then the expenditure out of the $1.174 million. So we're taking in the money from Atrium, and then we're gonna take that money and we're gonna give it to Indian Trail. Again, as Ms. Cox indicated, we're just the middleman, we're just passing it through, but I would recommend approving amended budget ordinance number 5 in order to effectuate that transfer.
So does that mean that they're ready to give us the money right now?
So you can take it or I can take it.
Tomorrow night, Indian Trail will meet. They'll, I believe, approve the interlocal agreement. We already have the amendment to the development agreement executed by Atrium. So Wednesday morning, Alex can then sign the amendment to the development agreement. It gets recorded. They then have 10 days to provide us the funds.
Gotcha. All right. I was kind of
Yeah,
missing
what we
that
don't
last
want to
part.
do is agree with Atrium that they're off the hook, and then Indian Trail, for whatever reason, I know local board would never do this, but change their mind. And then it's like, great, we're stuck now. So we want to make sure that Indian Trail agrees to this.
Okay. I was more worried that 10 days, like, because this seems like it's happening immediately, which is contradictory to everything else that we do. So that was,
It needs to be done by August 31st.
okay, okay. Sounds good.
So there's another,
We're gonna vote on this.
Amended budget ordinance number 5. It should be in the stack of the budget amendments that you have in front of you.
So what,
Oh, yeah.
So move approval of amended budget ordinance number 5.
I'll second it.
What was it?
1.174.
174.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Do we need to do these other budget amendments?
Those were already approved as part of the
Oh, those are done.
consent agenda.
All right, next up on the agenda is closed session. Need somebody to,
Move to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A6.
question beforehand, do we have to invite anybody? And exclude anybody?
Nobody needs to be excluded, but if you would, let's invite Ms. Reed, our HR director.
That's what I was thinking. Sorry.
And invite Ms. Karen Reed, our HR director.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Are we gonna do it here or,
Hey, Chief.
I usually, Aaron gives me a stack, and I
how much
just-
rain
Hey,
happened
I'm
up
not sure I
north?
like that cup.
You want me to
you've
do
got
it now?
there.
I can do it now.
He's got a Bank of America cup. Huh?
Fire trucks are in Shantamar
That's-
right here. Yeah, at our corner,
What's going on?
lightning. And they're checking
Your
for,
house okay?
I think so. She's texting me. And she was saying it was across the street. The lady across our street, Brenda, said she either saw it or I must have seen it. Right behind it and across the street, but they're checking the, it must have been really